I'm taking this topic and turning it into a fresh, commentary-driven YouTube script that feels like a creator thinking out loud, not a dry rewrite. Let me tackle the core ideas, then layer in my take, predictions, and broader implications. I'll keep the science accurate, but frame it as a narrative you'd actually want to watch, with strong opinions and a personal voice. Hook, midnight to 010. What if space travel isn't just about rockets and habitats? What if it changes the very first spark of life? Today we're diving into a surprising detail. In microgravity, sperm start behaving like disoriented explorers, and that could reshape how humans reproduce in space. Stay with me because this isn't sci-fi, it's a real puzzle with big consequences for moon bases, Mars colonies, and the future of humanity. Context setup. 011 to 040. Researchers at the University of Adelaide used a Clinostat to simulate microgravity and watched human, pig, and mouse sperm navigate a maze that mimics the female reproductive tract. The headline result. Under near-weightless conditions, sperm still try to reach an egg, but they tumble, flip, and generally lose their sense of direction. This isn't about sensational fantasies of space breeding. It's about fundamental biology, meeting the realities of living off Earth. Main breakdown, Idea 1, sperm navigation is gravity dependent. What it is, plus my take 041 to 220. What happened? In a microgravity environment, sperm's directional sensing is impaired. In humans, about 40% fewer microgravity-exposed sperm traversed the maze compared to controls. In pigs and mice, embryos showed altered development under the same conditions. The team also found that adding progesterone, one of the signals eggs release, helped counter some of the disorientation. My interpretation: gravity is more than a backdrop in biology. It helps organize fluid dynamics, signaling, and physical navigation at the cellular level. If the navigation system of sperm relies on gravity cues or gravity-influenced gradients, then 0G introduces a new layer of challenge that doesn't exist on Earth. This is a reminder that terrestrial biology evolved under a constant gravity that we often take for granted. Why it matters beyond the lab. As we discuss long-term space habitats, understanding how the earliest stages of reproduction work in altered gravity is essential for viability, not just curiosity. If reproduction is fundamentally harder in space, settlements on the Moon or Mars would need deliberate, engineered solutions rather than hoping biology will adapt on its own. What people might misunderstand. This doesn't mean reproduction is impossible in space. It means it's more complicated and potentially less efficient. The existence of a 40% gap doesn't imply doom. It signals a problem to solve, not a verdict on space colonization. Bigger trend connection. This is part of a broader pattern. As we venture off Earth, many biological processes we assume are fixed become context-dependent. It echoes debates about radiation, nutrition, closed-loop living, and the need for holistic life support design. If we want multiplanetary humanity, we're designing biology to survive inside engineered environments, not the other way around. Main breakdown, Idea 2. Practical strategies and what helps, my view 221 to 4 o'clock. The progesterone signal. The fact that progesterone helps guide sperm in microgravity hints at leveraging natural cues to assist reproductive success. A plausible approach could be to simulate or deliver specific signaling cues in space habitats to steer gametes and embryos, at least during the critical early stages. My take: if we're serious about space reproduction, we'll need multimodal strategies, not just mechanical or environmental tweaks, but hormonal, nanotech, and perhaps microfluidic systems that recreate Earth-like guidance cues. Imagine a microgravity reproductive chamber that actively manages chemical gradients to direct sperm and early embryo development. It sounds sci-fi, but it's a step toward practical design rather than waiting for biology to improvise. Why it matters. Solutions here will influence how we plan medical support, ethics, and governance for space settlements. Reproductive health isn't a single procedure. It's a system that spans signal biology, bioengineering, ethics, and policy. What people don't realize. Small changes in signaling environments can have outsized effects on embryo viability. The system is fragile, and in space we're dealing with unfamiliar stressors, radiation, altered fluid dynamics, and confinement. The management plan has to be robust, not hacky. Bigger trend connection. This aligns with a broader push toward proactive life support design for space, where biology is engineered to function in non-Earth conditions. It's not just about surviving. It's about enabling the fundamental processes of life in hostile environments. Main breakdown, Idea 3 Cold facts, hot questions, 401 to 540. Reproduction history in space. There have been several studies over decades, from Cosmos 1887 to NASA's Micro 11, showing mixed effects on reproductive biology under weightlessness. This isn't a new curiosity. It's a long-standing line of inquiry with practical stakes for future explorers. My perspective on ethics and governance. As researchers push toward space breeding, international collaboration and ethical guidelines become crucial. We're not just talking about science. We're talking about the rights of potential spaceborne offspring, the responsibilities of future settlers, and the moral boundaries of experimentation in extreme environments. Why it matters now. With Artemis plans and private interest in Mars habitats, the clock is ticking to understand how to sustain human life, including reproduction, in space. The goal isn't fear-mongering. It's informed preparation and responsible exploration. What this really suggests. The road to space fertility might require accepting that Earth-centric biology won't automatically translate to space. It could drive new medical technologies, personalized fertility protocols for space, and rethinking what normal reproduction looks like far from our planet. Bigger trend connection. We're entering a phase where space exploration compels a convergence of biology, bioengineering, and ethics at a level we haven't needed on Earth. The questions aren't just if we can go, but how we responsibly create life in new frontiers. Deeper insight. Why this shapes the future of space settlement. 541 to 720. What this challenges. The assumption that early reproductive stages will automatically function in a new gravitational regime. It nudges engineers to design habitats, medical supports, and perhaps even genetic screening or assisted methods to ensure viability. Personal reflection. If space becomes a persistent human home, reproduction won't be a side project. It'll be a central design constraint. We'll need to normalize studying these issues, fund interdisciplinary teams, and embed ethical oversight from day one. Speculation. In the near term, we might see targeted research on how to recreate Earth-like cues in microgravity, maybe via tunable chemical gradients, microfluidic sperm routing, or even gene-level adjustments to optimize navigation in altered gravity, always with strict safety and consent frameworks. Connection to broader trend. This is part of a bigger arc. Making space a viable habitat means addressing not only food and shelter, but the entire reproductive life cycle. It's a frontier that reveals how deeply our biology is tied to Earth's constant forces. Closing thought, open question for the audience, 7:21 to 8 o'clock. If we figure out a practical, ethical way to support human reproduction in space, what should be the boundaries? Should early experiments involve long durations in controlled habitats, or should we push for rapid, incremental clinical protocols in gravity-simulated environments here on Earth before venturing outward? Personally, I think the next decade will hinge on interdisciplinary teams bridging biology, engineering, ethics, and policy. What's your take on space reproduction? Is it a necessary step for multiplanetary living, or a risky detour? Leave your thoughts below and tell me which angle you want explored next. The science, the tech, or the societal implications. If you'd like, I can tailor this script to match a specific channel persona, more punchy, more academic, or more comedic, and adjust the pacing to fit a 8 to 10 minute video with on-screen graphics ideas. Would you prefer a version that leans heavier on the tech nerd analysis, or a more human storytelling style that centers on ethics and future society?